Hello, I'm David Feinstein, and I'm delighted to be introducing you to Dawson Church and Donna Eden, and we have collaborated in many ways, and one of the places that we've really come together is our interest in bringing energy work into relationships and seeing how there's a flow of energy between couples that you can really enhance to make the relationship be deeper, easier, and for the love to increase. And so that's going to be our topic tonight. Don and I wrote the book Energies of Love. Dawson is doing a wonderful teleseminar on deepening intimacy using particularly EFT. And so that's a way to get us started. And Dawson, one of the questions that we have for you is that relationships so often start with a big charge. They start off with so much excitement, and this is the person, and everything about this person looks so beautiful, and how can this person possibly exist, and they are right for me, and then a year later, who is this person? This is the person I've been praying for. No, this person is terrible. What are they doing in my life? And what changes? How do we get fooled like that? What can we do about it?
Well, it's a natural cycle, and it happens to everyone, and it's just due to our biology. So we think it's due to our psychology, we think it's due to our astrology, we have all kinds of explanations for it, but it's just biology. And when we get together, we have these surges of hormones. And those hormones are designed to make us mate. We see somebody who's attractive, we feel drawn to them, and Mother Nature's evil plot, or good plot from Mother Nature's perspective, is to get us to mate. Mother Nature wants to have lots and lots of genetic material exchange, and the way to do that is to blind you to the other person's faults long enough to have plenty of sex and a few babies. And after that, Mother Nature says, well, okay, they procreated, they produced some offspring, now we'd like some more genetic diversity. Where's the next person? And I'm not really interested in that person anymore. Where's the next person? And so we have these surges of these attraction hormones. The main bonding hormone in human beings is oxytocin, also in most mammals. And so, for example, pregnant women and babies produce huge amounts of oxytocin. Teenage girls who are bonding make lots of oxytocin. People in love, their oxytocin levels can double or more. And one researcher said that couples in love who are having lots of sex, their levels of pleasure hormones in their body are equivalent to a heroin addict getting a shot of heroin in their arm, mainlining heroin. Those drugs are that powerful. They pull us together. But after about a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, our oxytocin levels drop way down, and then rose-colored spectacles come off. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm with this person. I thought they were the love of my life. And you're left high and dry. So there's this cycle that people have over and over and over again. It leads to a lot of heartache and disappointment because people think this was the love of my life. And then they wake up after a year and think, oh, I made a huge mistake. So it's driven by our hormones. It's not we're bad people. It's just the way Mother Nature designed our brains and our bodies.
So nature wants us to be miserable?
And not monogamous. Mother Nature has no investment in monogamy or a long, happy life at all. So
wouldn't that be more so about men than women? Because women are raising the babies and they've got to be much more at home and need a guy to help feed the babies.
Yes. And interestingly enough, now this is a really new piece of research. If a woman is really good to a man and she really manages to have him bond to her, what happens is that he'll start to have more oxytocin with her. So if you learn certain couple skills, if you learn to bond, if you don't act on your first rash impulses, and you learn good bonding, if you have a good team relationship, you have good couple skills, if you listen to each other, there's a brand new study showing that you actually boost your oxytocin with your mate. But get this, when your husband meets a strange woman, a different woman, it suppresses his attraction to her. He actually has a drop in oxytocin with a new woman if he is highly bonded to his mate. That research is about 1 week old. Very new piece of research. Yeah.
And is that information, or do you have methods to overcome this kind of a cycle?
Well, you need methods. I was telling you a story before we went live about liver transplant.
Yeah.
The liver transplant story. Now, one of my ways of becoming really unpopular, I become unpopular in many ways, but one of the secrets to my unpopularity has been the fact that there's, of all the songs in the world that I truly detest, my all-time least favorite is John Lennon's song, All You Need Is Love. That's one of my wife's favorite songs. But when I hear that song, my teeth are on edge. I get like my hackles rise. All you need is love, because that is that old myth. All you need is love. We're going to have rose-colored spectacles. Everything will be perfect thereafter, and it's not true. And what I tell people, and what I'm telling you right now, listen up. What I'm telling you is that imagine you're getting a liver transplant you need to save your life. And you enter the hospital, and there are two surgeons there, and one has lots of skill and very little love, one has lots of love and little skill. So you talk to the first surgeon, he loves surgery, he's wanted to be a surgeon since he was 2 years old, he's passionate about surgery, he loves it so much. And then you ask him, well, how many liver transplants have you done? And he says, you'll be my first. So you go to this other doctor. He's a sourpuss, a curmudgeon. He's cynical, burned out, bitter, counting the days toward retirement. You ask him, how many liver transplants have you done? And he says, oh, I've won national awards. I've done 400 liver transplants. I'm the most skilled surgeon in the country for this operation. So you have to choose. Who's going to slice open your body? You know, you're going to choose the guy with skill. You must have skill. If you have skill, you can make love last. If you don't have skill, when that hormonal tide washes out, there you are lying on the beach like a stranded whale. So you've got to have both love and skill to make love last.
And are you using some of these strategies with your wife, Christine?
We use them frequently. We use EFT. One of the methods that you have in the energies of love are brushing off your energy. We find is really useful. But what we use only that, just that one little exercise is so powerful to shift your state from being in a snit, being a little irritable, being a little bit off balance with your mate, to getting right. That exercise also makes it about me. I love things we do that make the relationship success and my happiness about me, that I don't depend on you. I'm going to make myself happy. You can be happy or not happy, your choice. But I'm going to make myself happy, and those things that shift your state are really important. So we use that. We use
Show how you do it.
Oh, just really, really just visually, but also the movement, the strong, powerful energy really helps you shift. It's really usually standing up. But so yeah, just moving. And then the other thing, we dance, we do EFT, we do tapping, we do active listening. Active listening is so important because I want to feel heard. When I'm giving a keynote speech and I get a standing ovation and I have 1,000 people say you're wonderful, I love feeling that, and I love feeling that energy coming back to me. But when my wife walks up to me afterwards and holds me and says, Dawson, that was wonderful, that means more than a million people. You know, it's so powerful to have the person you love doing that with you. Yeah. So we do it together, and we also both have, she has her own therapist, I have my own coach. We go and work on our stuff, our life issues over there, so we can come together and just play. Basic relationships, pleasure and play.
I think it's so important that people grasp that it isn't all just psychological. You need to move the energy.
Totally, yeah.
In order for something to shift the energy, and it'll shift in your mind, in your body, everywhere. It'll shift. And then you're free. And then maybe you can use other techniques, but you gotta shift the energy.
You have to shift the energy, yes. And you can do it in a variety of ways, but physical ways are so powerful. Try to do it with just your mind and psychological ways. It doesn't really speak to the body the way energy techniques do. And like when you're stressed, you can go to a therapist, you can learn techniques like nonviolent communication or active listening, and these are wonderful techniques. But when you're upset, when you're angry, when you're triggered by your partner, you feel nothing.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, you cannot just overcome and use any of those techniques because you have been thrown into that fight or flight syndrome that was around a couple of million years ago, and we haven't changed much in that way of how we react to stress, in our bodies.
It's amazing, we have these three brains, our reptile brain, on top of that we have our emotional mammal brain, our primate brain on top of that, and the genes in our reptile brain are what are called in evolutionary biology, they're highly conserved. Those genes, some of those genes haven't changed for millions of years. They're the same genes, same substances were found in the dinosaurs. So a lizard has cortisol, a snake, a bird, all of that survival part of the brain works so well, it hasn't changed for millions of years. But when it's aroused, forget about your
Right.
thinking brain.
Right.
Takes over.
Right, you're streamlined for survival, and your thinking brain goes out, so you've got to go on automatic pilot.
Yeah, so energy work, tapping, anything somatic.
Yeah.
Right, so you're talking about skills, the skills that a surgeon has, the skills for helping a relationship really get past that 6 month to 2 year period to deepen, to become more, to become richer rather than to be going apart. And a lot of the skills that you've really brought into the world in this way is applying the tapping, the EFT, the energy psychology to relationships. And Donna, you've done it more and we've done it together to look at how energy medicine techniques, and I'd just like to get each of you to talk a little bit about what the skills are that you teach couples and they teach individuals within couples. And Dawson, you've been sort of going, so maybe continue a bit on what are the skills that a couple needs to learn to really be able to make love last?
Yeah, there are some that I think are essential, and one is listening. You absolutely have to be able to listen to your partner, and you can't listen if you're triggered. If you're all upset, then your thinking capacity is offline, and your ability to reflectively take in what they say and be present for them. Like when we're here sitting talking to each other, and I don't know if you can feel this if you're watching us, I'm sure you can, but we're present, we're really here. You know, I'm looking at Don, I'm looking at David, and I'm really here, and they're both really here. And you want to be present to your partner. When you're upset, then you are present. And there's a wonderful phrase from brain researcher Joseph Ledoux, which I think he used in a paper, and that I borrowed from him because it's so good. He calls it the hostile takeover of consciousness by emotion. When our emotions are all flaring up, we can't think. So you need those skills. And so when you're listening to your partner, to actually listen and not be thinking about what you're about to say, or justifying what you're about to say, or justifying your point of view, or getting so upset by what they're saying, you're planning your counterattack. That's what people are doing. They look like they're listening, but they aren't. They're doing all these other things in their heads. So sitting there with their eyes up, I perfected this in 8th grade. Sit there, listening to the teacher. The teacher thinks you're such a good boy, you're listening, and you're a million miles away. So you do with the partner too. And your partner, women especially, want presence. They want a man to be there, not just sitting there with a blank stare. They want a man to be there. So active listening. You need to be able to actively listen to your partner, and that means putting your own emotional triggering aside.
So Don, how do you do that? When that moment arises where people stop listening, stop hearing one another,
Yeah.
what do you do at that point?
There are some things that are exactly the same with everybody, but some things are different depending on, in our work, on their sensory systems, on what system they go to under the deepest stress. Like, I'm a kinesthetic. That means I'm a feeler. So that what happens to me is my words go out the window, my brain checks out, and all I want to do is to stop the pain here. And so I'm a feeler. And so I scramble, all the energy scramble in me. So I have a technique that unscrambles my force fields, and I don't mind at all doing it in front of you if something happens between us. Actually, we have a pact that we have drawn up, that we promise each other that we will call upon the pact if we see that either one of us is going screwy. But I have to unscramble.
Talk more about the pact.
Well, okay, when you get really, really stressed out and you're triggered, first of all, I mean, it happens so fast that the fight or flight response takes over. I mean, it's instant, it is automatic. And you lose blood from your forebrain, goes into the body for the fight or flight response. those three brains you were talking about. I mean, the back brain takes over completely. And without enough blood in your forebrain, you cannot think. You might think that you are completely right and your partner is a total jackass. But the truth is, you are both, your radar is off completely because you are in the primal stress. So for me, I would get out of being scrambled. I might want to hold my head also to bring the blood back up into the forebrain.
So what happens actually is that you have a pact with me
Yes.
that we teach people.
Yes.
And that pact is that the very first thing that you do when either partner recognizes that you are heading towards that cliff, and people know it, but it's when you're heading towards that cliff that you are the least likely to want to stop, because you want to show that you are right. You want to show how much you have been injured by your partner, and how your partner is wrong, and how your partner is hurting you, and how good you are, and how and we're instinctually really moving in that direction because we want to be right. We want to feel vindicated, and it's actually very primal, because in humans we're such social beings that when we do not survive alone. We survive in a community, in a clan, and particularly in a family. That's how we're built. And so if there is something threatening what's going on between me and Donna, my brain doesn't say, okay, Donna and I are having a little spat here. My brain is going, I am in lethal danger right now because we are about to go separate ways, and this is just, how could this possibly be happening? And so that's the moment where we have a pact that we will, number one, when either of us recognizes we're heading off that cliff, we will stop. That is the first part of the pact, is stop. It is the hardest part. You would think it was the easiest part. You can agree to stop, but it's not, it goes against all your instincts. So if either of us says it's time to invoke the pact, or it's time to stop, the other one, by agreement, honors that.
Yes.
Honors that immediately.
And it's really important to get that it's not like you're thinking about what do I do now. I mean, the thinking brain has been turned off, and you acknowledge that, so you do energy techniques.
Right, the
You just
second
go
part of the
automatically
You're
into
going
it.
to the second part. So the first part is stop. The second part is you do not return to the argument. You begin to
Yes.
work with your,
Energies.
Yes.
With your energies.
and how do you do that?
I mean, one way is, you might just start tapping here. It grounds your energy to tap there on your cheekbones, and then tap here. So we have 4 thumps. And suddenly, you just kind of come back a little bit. For me, I do this posture to unscramble my force fields.
It's the one you were starting to talk about when I interrupted you.
Yes.
This is the one that,
Yes, this is the one that always works for me. It's like, I'm so scrambled, I can't find my words, I can't find my truth. And if I'm worried about you hurting, I want him not to hurt, but I don't have a clue about my hurting. I don't even know that it's happening. I just know
because you're a kinesthetic.
because I'm a kinesthetic, but I do want to break down his walls badly. That's what I want to do. It's not that I don't feel in danger so much. What I feel is I've got to break down his walls and make him hook up with me in this love place. And that's the most important thing in the world. And each type is different. And one type is quite tonal, so they hear between the lines of what the other person is saying. And the tone, that other person's tone is what's doing them in. As my daughter, who is tonal, says, "Don't look at me in that tone of voice."
Okay, so the first thing is to stop.
Yes,
The
stop.
second is to just move into some energy exercises.
Move into some energy
Yeah,
exercises.
and so you've shown us 2, and there's about 8 that we
Yes.
really teach. But I want to go to Dawson now. How do you teach people at that point where they know they're about to go over the cliff? What skills do you give them at that point?
Yeah, well, stopping is the crucial one, and I also have one of the things I wrote about is stop, look, and listen. So stop, and then looking slows you down. Anything you do to slow the brain down. When you're going through the stress response, your brain is acting in a certain way, and it's using the biggest neural bundles you've got, the most frequently used neural bundles you've got, and those are your strongly conditioned responses. So you were conditioned to act that way and react that way when you had perhaps people in school, teachers, earlier girlfriends. You built up neural wiring over the course of decades. And so those are big, thick, well-used neural bundles, like big rutted highways. So your thoughts, your words go along those very, very easily. And then the ones that want to be compassionate and want to do something different, those little spindly neural bundles, and they aren't really active. You talked about this happening quickly, Donna. The genes that code for those stress hormones, like adrenaline, cortisol, that get you all fired up, those genes turn on in 3 seconds. They reach peak expression.
Yeah.
It's like a bell curve. But their bell curve is 3 seconds, and they're at peak expression.
That's what it feels like. 3
Very, very
seconds.
quick, and it turned on quickly because you needed to turn on in 3 seconds
Yes.
when you were faced with a tiger 100,000 years ago. Well, there was a snake in the path. You needed that instant, quick, response. Now, because you're treating your partner as the enemy, now you're having this big rise in cortisol, adrenaline, inappropriately toward this person you're supposed to love the most in the world, and you've got all these old habits, these old conditioned habits, these old neural bundles that drive your behavior. Then you're reacting that way so quickly, it's hard. So stopping is first. Looking slows you down. Just being quiet and just looking. Do anything to slow down the process of your mental activity, because when you slow things down, the brain then pays close attention to what's happening. When you are speeded up, you're going down your rutted pathways very quickly. So stopping, looking, and then listening. So practice some kind of listening skill. That's one of the ones I really like that have people do.
So
It
part
interrupts
of
the
what
pattern.
you do is that you know what activities actually change the brain. So to actually focus in, look, that means look at your partner, look at the world. How do you teach people to look?
Look at your partner. Just be there with your partner. Look at your partner and become present to the surroundings you're in. Just actually be there. Don't check out into those usual brain pathways. We built those brain pathways over a course of many, many, many years, and they're very familiar to us, so we easily go into those patterns. How do you interrupt them? It's really hard to do. That's a strongly conditioned response. And so once you practice being yourself in that way for 10, 20, 30 years, it's really hard to do anything else. And you think, because you wired your neural network that way, you think that's normal behavior, but it's just the way you wire your neural network. So to interrupt yourself, anything you do to interrupt the pattern will really help you develop the ability to be present with your partner rather than go down that old conditioned road.
So really, becoming present-centered and looking at your partner, looking at your surroundings is one of the ways
Slow
to
you down.
really slow it down and change the path and not go down the pathways that you're programmed to go down.
Right.
So that's a conscious choice
Right.
that is easier to make, I guess, than to listen well. Than to do a listening technique.
Yes.
Than to do something structured. It's just very physical. You're looking.
Physical. Yeah, another thing, the first skill I train people in is to relax their tongue. There are 2 nerves going to the back of your tongue directly into your cerebellum, your reptile brain. They're called the hypoglottal nerve, and when you relax your tongue, it sends a signal through that nerve, part of the vagus nerve, to relax your whole body. And so in our live workshops, I do this funny thing where I tell people to relax their tongue. They will relax their tongue. And I say, okay, now get upset. Think about the most outrageous thing you can think about. Think about Donald Trump. Think about Hillary Clinton, whoever you dislike the most. Think about whatever triggers you worst in the world, but keep your tongue relaxed. And see, and they sit there, and they try to pump themselves and get upset, and they can't do it because your tongue being relaxed sends that signal through those two nerves to your brainstem, and it tells your brainstem there's no tiger in the room, there's no threat to your survival, even if you think about the person you don't like the most in the world. So simple techniques like that, they're somatic, they're physical, they keep you here. When you're going to fight or flight, when you're going to stress, you aren't really fully present, you aren't doing that slow, intimate connection with your partner. So you have to find ways to slow yourself down.
Very interesting is that you have a technique that also is involved with the back of the tongue. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't know about this one. What's this?
Yeah.
Yes, well, there's an energy on a meridian that travels up the spine and goes over the head, over the nose, over the top lip, and connects to the back of the throat,
Yes.
the back of the tongue, and it connects up with central meridian that
Yes.
goes up the front. And for even in Western culture, in just normal life, people don't stay connected back there.
Right.
And so so it's very hard to grow and evolve because they're not connected. But when they're connected back there, it creates the microcosmic orbit that goes both ways around the body. And you're just more connected, you're more, everything, everything is connected up and everything works better. And so it's the same thing. I was feeling that at the back of my tongue when you were talking about that. It's like, wow, that's central and governing, connecting.
So maybe relaxing them hooks up, because if your tongue's rigid, then you're separating the back of your throat from the back of your tongue. Maybe if you relax it, it connects them.
Wait, say that again?
I'm just wondering, so when you relax your tongue, maybe it's touching the back
Yes.
of your throat.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I can do it right now. And this technique is simply, I can test it on you or him. Which one do I want to
This
do?
one doesn't.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to energy test you, Dawson.
Okay.
You hold your arm real strong and don't
Okay.
push it. You're nice and strong. I'm going to come along and just smash your nose.
Okay.
And now hold your arm real strong.
Okay.
Did you notice you lost your energy?
Then you got stronger.
I'll do that with a couple of fingers so you can see. I'll see if I can do it with one finger. Okay. That is the strength. It is about, this is exactly what you're needing at this moment. If you put one finger in your belly button and one finger at your third eye, push both in and pull them up.
Everybody do that out there. It's called the hookup.
And oxygen moves and energy moves and it connects at the back of your throat. Now what I didn't test is I could have shown you also that energy isn't traveling up your spine as well when this doesn't happen. But now watch, and I'm going to really smash you. And hold. So it's
And look
really
at
good.
how hard she is pushing.
Yeah, watch how hard I'm pushing. It has nothing to do with muscle strength. It has to do with the energies traveling. And so what I can tell you is how many people I've known who've learned to make that a habit so that energy stays connected and everything works out.
And your energy is flowing, and your energy is subjective, but you can feel when your energy is balanced and flowing. One of the curious things about, and just reflecting on it in the last few weeks too, is I've been reading a lot about serotonin, dopamine, other neurotransmitters. And so when you feel good, there are days when you're just feeling really fantastic.
Yes.
What's actually happening is your neurotransmitters are really balanced in your brain. You have enough dopamine, your motivational hormone, you have enough serotonin, your feel-good hormone, you have enough cortisol to where you're alert, but you have tons of DHEA, your main cell repair hormone. And so when you say I'm feeling good, or my energy is balanced, what is actually happening biochemically is all those neurotransmitters are in balance. And it's like having the perfect cup of tea or coffee. If you have the perfect combination of milk and sugar, everything's just perfect, then it's the same thing happening internally biochemically. So our words, like my energy's flowing, or I feel good today, are actually a reflection of our inner levels of neurotransmitters and hormones being really good, and they're our guide to feeling better because you want to feel that good every day. So you're motivated to do that, and so you're motivated to use the skills and the techniques to help both your body and your relationship to support your life feeling great every day.
Great, so it's really interesting that each of you has a technique that instead of continuing to wag your tongue, that you stop and you relax your tongue, or you get the energies flowing through the back of your throat where your tongue connects. So each
But
of
it
you,
most definitely relaxes the
and
tongue.
it also relaxes
Yeah.
it, but you're coming from slightly different
Yes.
angles to work with the tongue, and so that's very interesting. So okay, so we have.
So the difference is I went to PubMed and spent like 8 hours searching for my study to justify that. Don, you would do the easy part. I did the intellectual left brain part.
She just feels it, knows it.
I like your way.
Yeah, so both of our systems start with stop. It's interesting. Then go to something in yours. It's to really make yourself very present, to look at your partner. We'll go into ours a little bit more in a while, but then your third is to listen. So stop, look, really ground yourself, locate where you are, be present, and then listen. So the chemistry has kind of shifted by them so that you can listen. Tell us more about that listen part.
The chemistry shifted by then so you can listen, and the quality of your listening is really important. And if you think about it, when we were kids, there were these grown-ups towering way above us, and I remember my grandfather talking to my grandmother in the kitchen, like, you know, I'm 6'5" now, back then I wasn't. You look out and these people, you think they know you think they know what life is all about. And they're talking on this level up here, and you talk to them, and they talk.
6'5".
Yeah, came out like this. And it's all this conversation, and it's all happening up here. And it's supposed to wind up with a deficit of being heard in our lives. So then we get married, or we get to the new partner, we're in the honeymoon phase, we have our rose-colored glasses on, we're projecting all of those deficits onto the other person, we're going to get heard by them. So now we're looking for the listening from our new partner we never got from mom or dad or from the teacher in school. And so we're demanding that our lover, our new person, supply that. Now it works for a while, but again, after the honeymoon period is over, that crashes. And so listening is a really critical skill to learn. The gift of listening, I just can't tell you how. I had one therapist in an EFT workshop, and we have an exercise where we teach people to listen. Just listen to each other, repeat back exactly what the other person said. And people find it the most difficult exercise in the whole class because they can coach them, they can paraphrase them, they can advise them, they can do therapy on them, they can do 1,000 things other than just repeat back what the person said. And so this therapist, in feedback after the exercise, said, she was in tears. She said, "I've never felt so heard in my life as I was during the exercise." And I'm thinking, all the partner you had did was repeat back your exact words.